So this problem is a word problem, and this is using the highest common factor. And I have put some of the important information in bold, but you are gonna try and figure this out, and then I'm gonna ask you a couple of extra questions to make sure we're understanding what all these things mean. So, Kiara baked 30 oatmeal cookies and 48 chocolate chip cookies to package in plastic containers for her friends at school. She wants to divide the cookies into identical containers so that each container has the same number of each kind of cookie. If she wants each container to have the greatest number of cookies possible, how many plastic containers does she need? Right, so there's a lot of information there. When you see these word problems, I would suggest underlining information you think is important, right? So the amount of oatmeal cookies, 30, and the amount of chocolate chip cookies, 48, right? These are two important numbers. These are the two numbers we're going to be comparing, right? 30 and 48. She's dividing them into identical containers, and each container has the same number of each kind of cookie. So this is telling us we need common factors, right? Because we want to divide these evenly, right? So each container has the same number of each kind of cookie. If she wants each container to have the greatest number of cookies possible, right? How many plastic containers does she need? So this is saying the greatest number of cookies possible. This is the highest common factor that we want, right? And the question itself is asking how many containers does she need. So the first question really is the highest common factor the answer to this question, or is it just something we have to find along the way? So think about that. Is the highest common factor the answer to how many plastic containers does she need? So the highest common factor is not, but it is part of the factor pair that will answer this question. So be careful when you're looking at these questions. Reread at the end to make sure you give the right number. But I want you to try and figure out what the highest common factor is and then use that to answer this question. Right? So take a moment, pause the video, work this out, and then I will work through it. Okay, so as we look at this problem, we have oatmeal cookies, we have chocolate chip cookies. We need to find the factors for both. There are 30 of these and 48 of these, right? So if we look at the factors of 30, this is called like a rainbow factor chart, but it just shows you factor pairs using a rainbow. Lots of different ways to look at factors. For 30, the 30 oatmeal cookies, we have these factors. 1 times 30, right? 2 times 15, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. If we look at the factors of 48, the chocolate chips, we get this, right? 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12, and 6 times 8. So if we're looking for the highest common factor, we can look over here at 30. 30 is not a factor over here, right? 15 is also not a factor. 10 is not a factor. 6 is a factor. So 6 is our highest common factor, right? Highest common factor is 6. But what does that mean? Is that 6 cookies? Is that 6 containers? I gave you a hint earlier. That is, if we go, I'm going to go back to the question. That is the greatest number of cookies possible, right, within each container. So, if we want to answer the question of how many containers does she need, So first, how many cookies would be in each container? That is 6, right? There are 6 cookies in each container. And there would be how many containers? There would be 5 containers, right? Because we only have 30 oatmeal cookies. So we're using our smaller number to tell us how many containers we'd have. We'd have 5 containers of 6 cookies each, right? So the answer to the question would be 5, because the question asked how many containers would she need. I have one more question for you. How many chocolate chip cookies would be left over? Take a second. See if you can figure that out. So, if each of the 5 containers has 6 cookies of each style, oatmeal and chocolate chip, that means we will have used all the oatmeal cookies, 30 of them, and we will have used 30 chocolate chip cookies as well. So to find your answer, you would do 48 minus 30, which would be 18. Right, you'd have 18 chocolate chip cookies left over. So as you work through some of these word problems, make sure you find the information that's important, right? And read the question carefully, right? This question was not actually asking for the greatest number of cookies possible. It was asking for how many containers we need. So make sure you're answering the question. Of course, you are going to have to find the highest common factor, but make sure you answer with the correct number, right? Okay, so your work today, you have a worksheet number 2, and then I also am going to post just a couple evaluation questions, self-evaluation questions in ManageBack. That is just to help me understand where y'all are at, what you feel like you are doing well, and what you need more help with. And hopefully I will be there soon. So good luck on your worksheet. Don't forget to do those evaluation questions. If you can, please either scan in your worksheets or perhaps take a picture and upload them to the assignments that are in ManageBack so then I can see what you're doing, and that will help me know how you guys are doing with this content. All right, until next week. Bye.